Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we've got a really exciting one. We're jumping yet again into Hubbard's Cave, one of my absolute favorite stout brewers out there. They're based in Niles, Illinois, of course. This specific one is brand new to me. This is called El Zacaton. It's an Imperial Stout clocking in at 12% ABV that has been oak aged during the fermentation, so it was fermented on top of oak. And then they added to it almond flour, chocolate, cinnamon, vanilla, ancho chilies, guajillo chilies, and habanero chilies. So this seems to me like maybe they're going for like a Mexican hot chocolate, like traditional 1,000-year-old Mexican hot chocolate recipe. And it sounds absolutely awesome. In terms of label art, on this one, they've got kind of an abstract design. Angle it down so it gets the glare off. Looks pretty cool. But Hubbard's Cave, always time. I'm going to go gentle on my crack here. Gentle, gentle, gentle. Okay. And we're going to open it nice and wide because I know how thick their stouts pour. So let's be aggressive. Give it a chance to form a head. That's about as aggressive as I can get. I don't think we're going to see too crazy of a creamy, rich, foamy head here. But on the flip side, we will get that entire pint in this glass. Cheers to having good beer glassware. Eventually, I'm going to get my website back up, thecraftbeercorner.com. It's been under construction for a while. I've got a lot of work left to do, but I'm relaunching and I'm trying to bring things that are actually going to add value to anybody that's really into craft beer, including some really nice glassware that I'm going to source and probably restock my supply. I've got some core glasses, but there's a lot out there. Anyway, back to the beer. So as expected on a Hubbard's Cave Imperial Stout, it did indeed pour very thick. This one did an okay job forming a head at the end. I had to be super aggressive. That's just the deal with their beers. It's so thick. You've really got to just get a good glass that's big enough and just be aggressive. You don't really even need to tilt it just straight down the middle the whole time. That'll give it the best chance to kind of shake itself up, work through that thickness, and get the carbonation up to form a head. So I've got a nice little pad floating here. Visually pitch black as expected. I know the base stout beer they put in their stouts and it's always pitch black. Let's give it a sniff. Oh wow, yeah. That smells really nice. So on the nose, you can smell vanilla, you can smell cinnamon, you can definitely smell chilies in there. It smells more like cooked chilies, not so much the raw. Chilies are an interesting ingredient with which to brew. If you've never brewed with them, I have a few times. Specific raw chilies, depending on the volume you put in there, if you're just going for a little bit of flavor and heat, they can come out tasting a little funky. So just be very careful with the type of chili that you use and whether or not it's raw or dried. If you're just going for heat, a little bit of flesh is okay. But, you're looking for the membrane in there and the seeds. That's where the bulk of the capsaicin is going to be to get extracted in your brew for that heat. But this smells absolutely fantastic. I can't really pick up the chocolate. The almond flour is not going to have an aroma, but it smells amazing. And there is a little bit of a booziness to it coming off on the nose as well. So I'm thinking higher, bigger, thicker, richer, heavier, higher ABV Mexican chocolate beer. So let's just jump right in and see what this is about. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, wow. Completely blown away. Completely blown away. I even knew what it was, and I am astounded. Oh, man. This is the best stout I've had in 2021 by a mile thus far. By a mile. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's so good. Okay, so the first thing I was thinking about was I was really getting no discernible flavors as I was agitating around the palate. I could really feel the resistance. Yes, there's a lot of resistance to it. It's a Hubbard's Cave Stout. So yeah, the mouthfeel is resistant. As I agitated around the palate, it didn't get foamy, creamy, bubbly, velvety, anything like that. It just was moving it around the palate, letting it coat the palate. The body, as I swallowed, as expected on a Hubbard's Cave Stout, it's medium heavy to heavy. It's got a good, robust body to it and a lot of resistance on the mouthfeel. But immediately upon swallowing, unbelievably good, this beer. I've had quite a few kind of Mexican chocolate beers over the last couple of years here. I see them come out every once in a while. The combination of ingredients really goes well in a stout. All of the ones I've had have been stouts. This is next level. I mean, this is Mexican chocolate in beer form, perfection if ever there were any, and just the rush and intensity of flavors and the balance, you get it right away. It's just everything comes out and it is just packed with flavor. It's a wall of flavor just rolling and everything is coming in and out. Unbelievably good, this beer. Okay, body and mouthfeel I got. Preliminary flavor and thoughts I absolutely got. Unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. We're going to go in for sip 2. Let the flavors intensify here. We'll really pay attention to the finish as well, but I want to describe this flavor journey to you. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. It's cinnamon and vanilla up front. Chocolate comes in a few seconds after that. Immediately behind the cinnamon and the vanilla, you get this nice rush of heat from the chilies. It's not overwhelming. Yes, habanero's in there, as well as ancho, that's milder. Guajillo. I wrote guajillo on my board. It's out of frame, you can't see it. That's where I don't memorize everything. It's on my board for me. Guajillo. Guanjillo. So yeah, nice heat that came through, but it's not oppressive. It's enough to say, yeah, there's some chilies in that beer. And it absolutely tastes right. And for me, really, what's sealing this, what's making this entire beer work for me, as spectacularly as it is the balance on it. I've had a lot of beers that are in the similar vein in the last couple of years. It's, you know, a reasonably, once or twice a year, you'll see somebody come out with kind of a Mexican hot chocolate flavored and additives kind of stout. It's always in a stout. You could do it in something else. I don't know why you would. But this one, the balance is exquisite. It's exquisite. The depth of flavor coming out of this mix of specifically the cinnamon and the vanilla and the chilies is unreal. I don't know how they did it, what the ratios were, how much testing they did to get this right, or if it was just a lucky accident and they got it right out of the gate. But man, this is hands down the best stout I've had this year. It's one of the top 10 I've ever had, period. This is incredible, incredible, flavorful, well done, perfectly executed, perfectly balanced stout, and have mercy, it is bloody delicious. So, the chocolate, how does that come into play? That comes into play really binding with the very rich roasty malt bill. It's in there. There's no lactose in this, so it's not adding sweetness to let the vanilla and cinnamon. It's just volume of ingredients that they put in there, and it's definitely a lot. Indeed, I saw some of the cinnamon floating on top of the little pad on top after I poured it. So yeah, a lot of ingredients, quality ingredients with the right balance of them. That balance of the vanilla and cinnamon and chilies in particular is really, really impressing the pants off of me. The chocolate is really binding with that roasty malt bill, as I said, and that does kind of take a back seat to everything else, but it's in there. It comes in on the back end. As for the finish, this one's got a little bit longer than average on a stout, and really it comes down to just intensity and pungency of the flavors that they put into this beer. That's where the length is coming from, but it's not, you know, bourbon barrel aged or whiskey barrel or scotch barrel or pick any barrel aged type of length here, all right? There's none of that kind of pushing it out, but it is longer than average. Overall, absolutely tremendous beer. The taste, this is top tier. So much about this beer is perfection. This is going to be a high scoring one. Do I think it's going to be back-to-back hundreds on both beers? I don't think so, just because of the head and retention. but I know how their beers pour. But it is what it is. Nonetheless, I'm going to take my time, sip on every last drop of this delicious thing, come up my scores, and when we come back, we will get this beer ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. Again, this is Hubbard's Cave El Zacaton, an Imperial Stout that was fermented on oak, so oak aged in a sense, with added almond flour, chocolate, vanilla, cinnamon, ancho chilies, guajillo chilies, and habaneros. 12% ABV. Hubbard's Cave is based in Niles, Illinois. So starting with the aroma, as you might expect on a beer packed with that many ingredients, and knowing Hubbard's Cave, your suspicion would be correct. The aroma was massively intense. It smelled absolutely amazing. You could really pick out all the individual ingredients they put in there. It was wonderful. Aroma gets a 10 out of 10. For the taste, I was absolutely blown away, as was probably quite evident. I mean, this was just way, way more incredible than I ever could have imagined. I suspected it would be good, but I've had quite a few kind of Mexican hot chocolate style flavored beers, and none of them have even been in the same playing field as this one. I mean, I would not have changed a thing about it. I loved every sip of this beer. Taste, perfect 10 out of 10. For the body, as is typical on their stouts, it was quite robust, exactly what I expected. Body does get a 10 out of 10. The mouthfeel, same thing here. There's a ton of resistance. You can see it when you're pouring it, just how thick their beers are. These beers have real textural presence. Mouthfeel also gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the finish, this was definitely a longer than average finish. Though as delicious as it was and as bold as the flavors were, it wasn't as long as some. You know, if it were barrel aged, I'm sure that would have just pushed it over the limit. But as it were, it was still well above average. Finish gets an 8 out of 10. For the head and retention, you know, this is typical with most of their beers. They'll do an okay job if you can really get aggressive out of the gate, but they don't really form the biggest heads. They're just so thick, it's hard for it to form. This was high end of average. Head and retention gets a 6 out of 10. For the appearance, absolutely pitch black. As expected, it gets a 10 out of 10. For the balance, oh wow. This is a masterclass in how to balance a beer. That was a huge ingredients list and everything had its place, worked perfectly together. I would not tweak that at all. It should stay exactly as it is. Balance, perfect 10 out of 10. Feeling the intangible, subjectively, I loved it, 10 out of 10. Finally, the example of the style. This beer only lost a few points in a couple categories, not that heavily weighted towards the example. I did give it full marks here. Example is style 10 out of 10. Which brings the total score on Hubbard's Cave's El Zacaton to a 94 out of 100. Guys, this is just a top tier stout. Honestly, this is legitimately one of the best stouts I've ever had in my life. I absolutely loved it. The flavor profile, the balance of it, it was everything that I would want in a flavor stout and then some. If you find this, do yourself the favor, grab it. You are not going to regret that decision. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just toggle on the notifications, click that bell icon. It is right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.